Hey guys, welcome to the Girl Take No podcast. I am Shawnee Sanders, your host, and today we are talking all about home ownership. There is so much going on in the market that a lot of us are just kind of like scared to purchase because we're getting a lot of misinformation. But today we get to have all that put to rest. So with me, I have the managing partners of Synergy Prosperities Group, Rukaiyah Tyler. I thought I was going to mess your name. I'm sorry about that. Right. And Samantha Johnson. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming on. So I have like a list of questions that I just kind of want to get through. Hopefully we can get through them within this hour. But the first thing I want to do is, since it's Black History Month, I want to talk about, I would like for you ladies to talk about what has been your journey as African American women in the real estate industry and what made you go into this industry.
I mean, for me, it has definitely been an eye-opening experience of how much education we need to provide to our circle of family, friends, and even just our community on the process and what it means to actually own real estate and building that generational wealth. For us, it has always been about being that resource and educating our community for them to understand, like, this is where you start to build the wealth that you've been dreaming of, that you've been asking for so many years, and you can be the first of your generation to do so. So being a woman in the industry, I mean, Kia can attest to this. We always get, you guys are inspiration because, women working together and we never seen anything like it. So, just having that too, being in the industry is super, super important to us and a blessing to be inspirations to other people that's in the market as well. So
that's really awesome.
And I think for me, being an African American woman who bought a home very early, I wanted to kind of debunk a lot of the myths of home ownership and what that looks like. And I think for Samantha and I to be able to make a great impact on our community of just being a resource and showing people and having an avenue, like we don't turn anyone around. Like everyone will have a plan and have a strategy. And being in a business, this is my 7th year, we are needed. Like, we don't understand how much, Black realtors are needed, Black lenders are needed, Black appraisers are needed, for our to be a resource to our community, to show others that, you can purchase and give you all the avenues in order to do so. Definitely being an African American woman, we have dealt with some things as far as I definitely, me personally, have dealt with discrimination. People have asked me why I am in certain neighborhoods. I've never seen you around here. So that for me, it gives me even more of a push to be able to help my community, because if we don't help them, then who will?
Yes. Exactly. Let me ask this question, because thinking about what some of you guys just said, has the mindset of our people shifted when it comes to purchasing home? Because I remember back in the day, with my mother's generation, it was really about home ownership, owning something of your own. That's the way you say you build wealth, or just to have something of your own. Has that mindset changed, you think, now? Is it more so where we don't believe we can have it? Or is it just that we feel like renting might be the better option?
I think people think that renting is the easier option, and it's not. It's not the easiest option. We still have a long way to go as far as individuals' mindsets, to be honest. It was the NAR. They did the National Association of Realtors. They did a report that said for last year in 2022, 88% were Caucasian and only 4% were Black buyers.
Wow.
4%. So we have a lot of work to do. So me and Kia say all the time, collaboration over competition. We need all of our agents to get together to really educate our community, because, we're still fighting, to push into people's minds of this is the way to start. And it's not their fault. Some people might be first generation homeowners. Maybe they haven't seen anyone in their family, benefit from owning a home. They just know, just buy a house, but they don't know the reasons and the opportunities for buying a house. So we have a long way to go, but we're in it for the long haul.
Progress is slow.
And I would definitely say, in my years of being an agent, again, 7 years, I've seen it definitely shift. in the sense of what people are seeing on social media. Kind of like this FOMO, like I want to buy a house, fear of
Mm-hmm.
not, missing out because they're seeing their friends, posting about buying homes. I just think, as millennials, what I see specifically in millennials, they realize, I might not be getting married in the next 5 or 10 years. I mean, the next few years. So a lot of people, what I'm seeing from millennials are becoming investors. So they're not
Mm. Yeah.
necessarily, they're really hooked on like, I want to get this 4 unit building. I want to, buy my first home as my investment. So I'm definitely seeing the mindset of as far as what people are looking for as far as starting their journey with real estate.
Yeah, I've been in a lot of conversations where investing has become really huge among millennials versus purchase of home. They'll purchase a property, they'll live in one and rent out and build their wealth from there. So I have start seeing kind of like that shift. So that's
Yeah.
something. Let me ask you guys a question. So this is kind of a question that I ask every guest that come on our show. Given what you guys said, your journey in real estate to where you are now, what advice would you give your younger selves? You know what I mean? You can go back and say, hey, little Rukaiyah, hey, little Samantha, you know what? You gonna make it, girl. Just keep your head up. What advice would you give your younger selves?
Wow. I should have started earlier. That's what I would say. And I bought my house when I was in 2017, so I was in my early 30s. I would have started way earlier. And I think that for me, I wish I would have knew this path of real estate a lot sooner because now we're seeing a lot of people that's younger than us that's like killing it. And I'm like, man, if I was
Yes.
high school started at 21, 20, whatever the case may be, I would have been going crazy. But, it's all in God's planning. But I just would have started early for sure. I would have started way earlier.
I think for me, I feel like everything happens for a reason, right? So I feel like if I would have told myself something as a younger, Rukaiyah, I may not be where I am right now. I think like all of the journeys, working for the government for 12 years, being a probation officer, running the unit for that, it all led me to where I am right now. But for me, I think, if I had to tell myself anything, it's just like focus on your mindset. Because regardless of what, where you are, what you're doing, mindset is the number one thing that either will propel you or leave you stagnant.
Now that is the truth. That is the truth. You just spoke a word right there. Seriously. So you really did. So with both of you have very diverse backgrounds and you decided to come together to form this amazing company. What made you decide to do this?
So when I first got into the business, from the very beginning, how we actually met is that we have something that's called Family Reunion with Keller Williams. And Rukaiyah put on social media that she was looking for a roommate for a hotel room, for our stay. So I said, I'll come, I'll be your roommate or whatever the case may be. Well, come down, fast forward 2020, between that time and then 2020, we became really, really good friends. We have similar backgrounds as far as being from Prince George's County. And, we just love our community. We love giving back to our community. But like I said, being a resource to our community. And we needed each other. I'm a systems person. She's a people person. Kia will go out to, networking events and she will have conversations and I'll be on the back end creating the systems for those conversations that she had.
I know that's right.
I mean, that's just who we were. We just knew our separate roles. We know our separate roles. But at the end of the day, we only had one thing in mind, and that was just creating that community-based team or that community-based company where people feel comfortable talking to us about their real estate goals, trusting us with their real estate goals, and actually believing that we can fulfill their real estate goals.
That's awesome.
Just to add to that, like we want to make like the whole purpose of the name Synergy is two forces that come together to make a bigger impact. And so that's what our goal is. Like we know we can't do this by ourselves. We know that in order to make the impact we want on our community, we need each other in order to do so.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right, so let's get into questions regarding the market.
All right.
What everybody want to know. Now,
Let's get with it.
let's talk about this. Now, since the pandemic, it shifted a lot of different industries, right? But what would you describe the current market today? Like, how would you describe it? Because before the pandemic, we felt like, okay, it was good. We had a lot of homes available. It was good to purchase. I purchased 4 years ago. I was good. But how would you describe it today for people today?
I would say it's a stable market. As far as like, there are homes available more so than we saw in 2020 and 2021, especially new construction. There's so many different routes to be able to purchase and actually have a strategy to purchase. Between 2020 and beginning of 2022, you didn't have time to think. You didn't have time to do inspections. You were in a rush to do everything. So I think now is a great time to definitely take advantage of the different opportunities to be able to purchase with down payment assistance that you weren't necessarily able to get before, getting closing assistance for the sellers. And then the sellers are still getting a lot of, top dollar for their home. So I think it's definitely a great time. It's just a different time. And I think that's what people have to understand. 2020, no market is going to stay the same forever, but there's definitely advantages in every market that you're in.
Yeah. And the same that, just to piggyback on what Rukaiyah was saying, the market is correcting itself. I mean, like we were talking about earlier, the interest rates were so low, back in 2020, 2021, even early 22, that, it was just a whole bunch of buyers, just a whole bunch. You have to excuse me. I'm in my office where the light goes out. For a second, there it goes. Yeah, you're gonna get those bloopers. But yeah, so it was just so many competition that, like he said, people weren't able to think and to really purchase a property that they really could do their due diligence with the inspections and appraisals. And I think now it's just an opportunity. It's not that much competition. Sellers are willing to assist as far as closing costs and things of that nature because they received so much equity during that time that they can slide you over a little bit as far as closing costs and things are concerned. So like Rukaiyah is correct when they say it's just opportunity right now, and it's more so just understanding the market and finding that opportunity and knowing what your real estate goal is for the long term, and not just thinking that real estate is a short term investment but a long term investment.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you guys, I think my microphone's acting funny now. I think you guys touched on something. I don't know where all this is coming from, but I think you guys touched on something that I talk about with my friends, which is the mortgage rates, right? And that is one, and for us, that is one of the deterrents for us to say, okay, we're not going to purchase right now because we feel like, oh, they're too high, because when we purchased our home, a few years ago, it was much lower and we got such a great interest rate and stuff like that. And when people want to refinance, and people don't want to do that because they feel like the mortgage rates are just too high. So what do you guys have to say about those? Are the mortgage rates still trending up? Do we see them maybe coming down at some point? Is it the time to buy or sell? Or would you say, well, you probably wouldn't say no, don't do that right now, but would you say be cautious about how you do it?
Listen, if we
it's a strategy for everything.
Yeah, if we were to answer, I will be a millionaire right now, sitting on the beach giving my predictions on this. It's marry the house, date the rate, divorce the landlord. Okay?
That
you marry the rate. Marry the house, date the rate, and divorce the landlord. I mean, we never know what the market is going to do. Trust me, in 2021, we could not have told you that the market was going to be like this, how it is today. But again, opportunity. And even if you can afford a mortgage payment at the interest rates that they are now, you can always refinance. That's the thing. If it's a house that you're interested in, you're running the numbers, you're getting assistance from the sellers as far as being able to save more, as far as cash to close, you're using down payment assistance programs, you can divvy up the money that you're saving from getting all that from the sellers and from the programs into your mortgage payments to make it seem not that much worse than what you think it may be. So yeah, it's always, like I say, opportunity. So you just have to look at it as that. And like I said, refinance. I've refinanced my house. You know, my interest rates were high, and then I refinanced it, and now they're decent. So you just have to figure out what's important to you.
And I think people have to really understand that you probably didn't know what interest rates were until they were historically low. Right? Like before they were historically low, people probably didn't know that people were getting 6% interest rates in 2017, 18, 19. Like, you know, didn't know that people were in the fives. So I think people just have more knowledge because we put it in everyone's head. Like, it's historic low rates right now. Buy a home. We were serious about it. If you didn't have the opportunity to buy it, buy a home at the time, we understand that. But you also have to look at it like, when that was happening, you also had to be very cash heavy in that market. You had to have cash. You weren't asking for any repairs. You weren't getting any closing assistance from sellers. So people have to realize that interest rates did go up a lot, but they have definitely come down since we've seen the height of a lot of stuff from the fall of last year. So people have to realize, as long as the payment, like Samantha said, is a comfortable payment for you and is not above your max, then what are we really talking about? Because that interest rate can change. So you're going to tell me you're going to continue to rent for $2,300 for this 1-bedroom, 1-bath, as opposed to putting that $2,300 in an actual home that you're building equity on and building wealth. So we have to have conversations, and everyone's situation is different. So don't listen to your friend. Don't listen to this guy on Instagram that got 100,000 followers who's telling you what this market is, but has really no idea. Everything is a scare tactic. People are trying to scare people into, either purchasing or not purchasing.
And that's a good thing I want to piggyback off too. Like, know your local market. Like, trust the resources in your local market, because a lot of people are looking at Fox News and CNN and looking, at the national market, but not looking specifically in their local market. Kia said something even interesting. She said just imagine $2,300 a month that you're spending on rent. That's about $27,000 a year. Typically, people do 2-3 year leases. So you multiply that by 3. That's $82,000 for 3 years.
Oh my God!
But you could have put that into your home instead of paying your landlord's mortgage. That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
Trust me, I'm a landlord. So we're both landlords. So we definitely understand. But our whole goal and our whole why is to build generational wealth. So I think the mindset of changing people's mindset of, we're not waiting. You said that 2 years ago. You said that last year. We're not waiting anymore. It is time. If now is the time to buy a home, don't let anything stop you, because there's different strategies that we can put into place to make it affordable.
Yeah. And I think this is why this conversation is so important to have, because the mortgage rates, like you said, Samantha, we looked at them on a national level. We're looking at Fox News. We're looking at CNN. They're saying, hey, this is not the mortgage. This is not the mortgage rates are going up. They're trending up. This is not a time for people who are looking to buy. This is more a seller's market. And that's why people are like, okay, so I'm going to pause on that. I'm just going to go rent before I even buy. And then it was also the whole myth of there's not enough inventory to purchase a home. So is there inventory in the DMV, or the areas that you specialize in, which is I think it's Washington and Maryland, correct?
And Virginia.
In Virginia. Okay, so you do all of them. Okay. So is there I know that's right. We cover all grounds. Is there inventory? Because I have friends who feel like they can't even find homes.
It is inventory, okay? It just depends on what you're looking for. And there's so many options that you can use in order to make a home that may not be what you're that you might want it to be, into making it what you want it to be. So, for example, 203K loans. You might find a home where it might not have the flooring you're looking for, or the cabinets, or, the appliances and things of that nature, or updated bathroom. They have loans that you can utilize to be able to fix up the house the way that you want it to look like. When I purchased my house was not the house that I wanted, but I made it into my own. Kia was the same exact way, and she could speak on her behalf as well. It wasn't the perfect home, but it was a great location. They were building up in my neighborhood, and I knew that I was going to keep my house for the rest of my life. I might not live in it, but I was going to keep it under my name for the rest of my life. So I had to look at the rental rates and things of that nature, the infrastructure. So you have to look outside of just, I need a bigger space, but look outside of, what can this property do for me on the long haul? How can I benefit from this particular property? And all the cosmetic stuff that could come over time, but get a house where what kids say, the cutest neighborhood, ugliest house, or something like that.
The ugliest house in the best neighborhood. That's what I did. Because people have to realize this is your first home, but this is also potentially your first investment property. Yep. Is it an investment property that someone may rent out, or is it an investment because it's going to be able to sell, use that money for a down payment on your next home, right? This is not your forever home. We're not in our homes forever like our grandmothers were, right? So people have to wrap their mind around that. And, for the people who say there's no homes out here, it's because they're looking for something very specific. That they may not ever find, right? Because no home, regardless of your budget, is going to be 100% every little thing that you want. But we are seeing, more days on the market as far as homes, and we're also seeing, an uptick in the inventory. And then I do a lot of new construction. New construction is like everywhere in the DMV right now. Yeah. So from all the condos in DC to the townhomes and single family. Virginia, Montgomery County, they're literally everywhere at all budgets. So it's an opportunity. And before, when it came to new construction, if you didn't get on that email, respond to that email within 24 hours or whatever the situation is, you done for the month.
Oh, wow.
Because they had a cap of how many they could sell a month. So there's so many different opportunities right now. But like Samantha said, you have to be willing to not necessarily understand that you're going to get something that may work for you, but it's not going to be everything. And you have to understand that part.
I know that's got to be a hard part, is managing people's expectations when they're out there looking for a home, because I myself did it too. I fell in love with the aesthetics. And you're right. When I walk in, I'm like, I just want it to all be done nicely. I don't want to fix up nothing. But you know what I mean? But it is value in buying those homes that are fixer-uppers, because that's what we're thinking about now, and being able to create it what you want it to be versus having to go into a turnkey home and it's all just done for you. I know that has to be a hard part of the process.
And I tell people, if you want it, we can get it for you, but you have to pay for it.
Yeah. And those are the high price ones.
Yeah.
Right. Those are high price ones. Those are ones that is going to increase the comps in the neighborhood, because this is a completely renovated home. It's turnkey. All you have to do is walk in, versus you're going to be walking in. Once you do all the, the pretty aesthetics and, doing everything you want to do cosmetic wise, that's going to increase the value of your home. But you're not going to put as much into that home compared to how much increase in value you're going to get. And that's what I think people have to realize too. I have a background in construction. I actually have my home improvement license, and I see it all the time where I have to really talk my clients into, what's wrong with this property? Okay, the carpet. Carpet's like $3,500.
Use your tax refund and get some hardwood floors.
Yes, that's what I did. Yes. If you need someone to manage,
it's a workaround.
Yes, if you need someone to manage your project, I got you. I will manage your project for you in order to get this done. This is just, it's mind-boggling. We definitely have to get outside the realm of, everything has to be completely done, because it's not going to benefit you. I mean, it will eventually, but it's not going to benefit you as fast as if you had something that needed just the basic cosmetics that you can definitely work around.
Yeah. So let me ask you, let's talk about the home buying assistance programs, because I know when I was looking, I was trying to find that first time home buyer program and get the assistance that you need. I could not find them to save my life. So how easy or how hard is it to actually find those programs and then really get approved to utilize those programs for first time home buyers? Because I have other friends who tried to find those programs. Maybe I just don't know where they are. Like, how do you find them?
So it's a question we get all the time. Like, can you connect us to a down payment assistance program? No. We can connect you to a lender who did a down payment assistance program. So the lender has specific down payment assistance programs. So we love when people come to us without a lender, right? Because we're able to direct you to the person that you need to speak to. If you're looking to purchase in Montgomery County and you want to use their program, I know who to hook you up with. If you're looking Baltimore, I know who to hook you up with. If you want to buy in DC, I know who to hook you up with. Never ask people if you qualify or not. I say, where do you want to be? And the first thing I always talk to the lender about, do they qualify for this down payment assistance in this specific area? Some lenders will not. Some lenders don't work with any type of down payment assistance, especially like credit unions. And then some lenders won't give you all their options because they may not want to work with those because those programs may take a little longer, take a little bit more work on their end. That's why it's great to connect with a great real estate agent who will help you in that direction as far as connecting you to a lender that works with those programs.
Yeah. And then also too, I just want people to realize too, with the down payment assistance programs, it's not free. It's not
free money.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. No. So if you have the cash to be able to utilize, and getting your down payment assistance or paying for your down payment assistance or getting seller help and things of that nature, we definitely consider that as well. Nothing wrong with down payment assistance programs though, but just understand that it's not free. And then they might add on fees and they might add on like a higher interest rate. So that's what you also have to take into consideration. We have tons of buyers that use the down payment assistance programs, and if needed, definitely use it. But again, it's not free. They find some way to get, their money on the back end to upfront you those costs. So just keeping that in mind, not being a Debbie Downer, but we real over here.
Well, that's good to know. And thank you for clearing that up, because in my mind, I thought it was free. And I know probably a lot of other people are thinking, this is free money. How can I get this free money? Yeah. So,
and there's ways they get their money back. So if it's a grant, even if it's a grant where you don't have to pay the money back, that money is tied to an interest rate. So your interest rate is going to be higher, meaning that your mortgage is going to be higher. Like me, I used one program when I refinanced, I had to pay the money back. So they're going to find a way to get their money back for giving you money. But it's definitely a great way to get into a home, because that's what your ultimate goal is to get into the home and start building that equity.
Yeah, definitely. So what advice will you guys give to potential buyers right now? What would you say? Would you say, hey, this is the time for you to buy? Like you said, don't pay attention to mortgage rates. What advice would you give them who are looking to buy and want to get this whole process started? Because when I bought my home, one thing I didn't know, because when you're a first time home buyer, you really don't know the process, right? Mm-hmm. You don't know the process. I'm sorry, my dog keeps hitting my microphone, and I just cannot get him away from me. And you don't know how lengthy the process is, and you really don't know how much lenders really get all up in your financial business. You know what I mean? Because I had no idea. So what would you tell a first-time home buyer, and how would you prepare them for that process?
I think the first thing I would say is have the conversation with professionals. You can always have your support system when it comes to like your parents and friends and cousins, but always listen to a professional. It was so funny. My sister just got pre-approved, and she talked to my mom and dad, and they're like, oh, when I purchased my house, it wasn't like this, and this. I had to put my parents in their place. Like, y'all treating me how all the other first-time home buyers, treat me with family. But it's nothing wrong with having that support system. system. But for someone that, or a team that does it on a regular basis, I mean, we do this every day. As far as we are students of the market every day. You know, we close deals on a regular basis, so we understand what to look for. They're in good hands when they work with Synergy Properties Group. So it's just more so just having that conversation. And then when we send you over to the lender, do not be afraid to have honest conversations with the lender, because they're going to find out regardless, whether you tell them now or tell them later once we're under contract, which might be too late and be hurting your pockets with your earnest money deposit. So we just want you to be very open and honest. We've seen it all. And, you know, we're just here to definitely fulfill your real estate goals. And that's just what's important to us. Once you have that consultation with us, your real estate goal becomes our real estate goal. And we push to make sure that we see it to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said earlier, we don't turn anyone away. We have a strategy for everyone. So the first call, the first initial consultation is a strategy call. Are you ready to go to the lender? Do we need to send you to the credit specialist? What is, what is the thing that we need to do to help you accomplish your goals? So I think a lot of people don't realize, just have that call, right? Pull the Band-Aid off. Just have that conversation. And a lot of people, I think, are so nervous. They read all these things. They see all these things on social media, but don't know where to start. The first place to start is to schedule a call with Synergy Properties Group and have an initial consultation. And that's just have a conversation, because you don't know what you don't know. We do this all day, every day. I had an initial consultation at 1:00 today. And what she said to me is, I don't think I'm ready to buy right now because I got to get my credit up. First thing I said, have you checked your credit? Where are you? She said, well, I'm in like the mid sixes. All you need is a 640 to start the process. So you think you're a credit specialist. And honestly, now you can go talk to the lender. So a lot of people, I think they talk themselves out of the process because, like you said, you don't know. You don't know anything about it. So having that initial consultation with us will be able to guide you on a direction towards your goals.
Yeah. And I think, too, a lot of people have to realize, too, is that don't wait for the market to change before you actually decide to purchase. I have so many people, you guys, I know I have so many, current clients that pretty much they're like, in 2020 and 2021, they were like, I'm going to save a little bit more, increase my credit. Now the money that they saved is like pennies compared to what the interest rates and everything look like now. So you trying to save and not speaking to a lender to get, to know what your plan is that, I saw his tail. So you not knowing your actual plan is actually hurting you more than helping you. So having those conversations is super, super important. But there goes Light again. We're having a bloopers moment here.
Listen, this is all part of a conversation. This is stuff that happens. This is the kind of stuff people like to see in the show.
Exactly.
Let's talk about credit score, because credit score, I think, is another deterrent in terms of why people won't even take that first step, because they feel like, no, I don't have the credit for it. And I think they just don't know what they need when it comes to FHA loan, or just I don't know what the other term is called for a regular loan. I don't think they know what their score is supposed to be. They just think that, I just don't think my credit score is good. So kind of give people some information around credit score.
A lot of people think you need to have a 700 to be able to purchase. Some lenders will go all the way down to a 580. Our goal is to have you at least at a 640 point, then you qualify for down payment assistance program. So our goal is for at least a 640. If you have a little bit of extra money, you don't need down payment assistance, you can go a little lower. You don't need a perfect credit score. You don't need a 700 credit score. You can have a bankruptcy. You can have different things on your credit. That's why it's important to talk to the lender, not to your friends, not looking at all these things on Instagram or YouTube about, what you need for credit, because everyone's situation is totally different. So having that conversation at a 640, maybe you want to increase it to a certain amount, but having that conversation at least with the lenders to let you know specifically what you need to do to increase your score is always a good thing to do.
That's a good one there, because I know that was a big one I have a few friends. I have a niece particular who's looking, and she's young. And I was going to ask that question too. Do you begin to see a lot more younger people purchase homes. She's only 20. No, I'm sorry. She's 30 actually. She looks so young. She's 30 years old. She is. If you was to see her, you'd think she's like 16. You wouldn't even believe that she's can purchase a home. But she's 30 years old. She has 2 kids, and she's thinking about purchasing. And I know when I was at her age, I wasn't even thinking about that kind of stuff, to be honest with you. But I began to see younger and younger kids now think about home ownership. Is that something you guys are seeing too?
Oh, for sure. I mean, definitely, especially when the interest rates were super low.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were coming in fast, because it was a monthly payment that they can maintain. And I'm seeing a lot of people where they went back home, lived with mom for, a year to save, and they have enough for down payment and closing costs. So they have more opportunities. So I'm seeing a lot of people using their resources, using family, their circle, to help them in the process. Not just asking mom and dad, can I borrow this money, but actually like, okay, can I stay with you? I have a plan in place. Give me a year, saving the money so they can go ahead and move forward to actually purchase. But yeah, I am seeing a lot younger people actually considering or having those conversations, and some are ready to move forward and some may not be, but they're willing to put in the work in order for them to be ready, in the near future. So mindset is definitely totally different. And I think it has a lot to do with social media, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. When they see people like actually purchasing homes, when they visit their friends who purchased a home, like if they can do it, I can do it type mindset is super amazing for the younger generation for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Samantha said, social media has been amazing with that, as far as like showcasing people all across. You can see everywhere in the market, not just in the DMV, how many young people are actually purchasing now. And I think it's a great thing and a great trend that we want to keep up, because our whole goal is for you to buy, as young as possible, so you can start building that wealth.
Yeah. When you're taking people around, showing them homes, is it a certain area, especially here in the DMV, that's like the most sought after, that most people say, I want to be in this area, and then they get to that point where they're like not changing their minds, they just want to be in this sought after area? Is it areas like that here? Do you guys run into that?
Well, we can't tell people where to go because that's considered steering, which is against the law.
Okay. Make sure you say that, okay?
Disclaimer. No, but people that's from out of town is so funny. It's either Upper Marlboro, Bowie. They don't know nothing else. They just know Upper Marlboro and Bowie. And I'm like, it's other areas besides Upper Marlboro and Bowie. Mm-hmm. But yeah, those are the two where definitely people are like, I want to live in those two areas, and that's it. That's all type thing. So yeah, those two.
Where are you seeing the most inventory right now here in this area? Because like I said, I have friends who are looking, but I think my friend one, I'm in Upper Marlboro too, and I'm over here, in an area where they're building a lot around my area, but a lot of the homes haven't been built yet because my community is still my area is kind of new in this community. But where do you see the most inventory right now?
It depends on price point, I would say.
Yeah,
it depends on where you're looking at as far as your price point. It's inventory everywhere, but again, it's just what are you comfortable with as far as your monthly payments, and then what are you pre-approved for? To basically say where the inventory is. But from what I've seen, and Kia can speak on it, it just depends on your particular price point, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you
it's definitely depending on your price point. As far as like new construction, literally everywhere it is, from Bethesda to Alexandria, Frederick, Baltimore County, all throughout Prince George's County, from Akakeek to Laurel. We're seeing a lot of new construction pop up. But like Samantha said, it's really going to depend on your price point as far as the inventory.
Okay. Let me ask you guys this too. When it comes to pre-approvals, do you prefer them to come with your clients to come with a pre-approval, or would you say, hey, pre-approvals are not necessary? We can take you to, as you say, to our lenders and try to help get you approved. We can work with you getting you approved for something.
I mean, either way is fine. We prefer that, that you work, well, not prefer that you work with one of our lenders, because we have, lenders that, that we suggest, but it's always up to you, whichever lender that you use. However, if you do come with a pre-approval, it's super important that we do our due diligence, asking all the important questions. How soon can you close? What's the cash to close? How much, do they need from sellers, if they need anything from the sellers, things of that nature, which is super important, just to make sure that our client's entire team, us, the lender, title, everyone is on the same accord. So either way is fine. To be honest with you, we have just worked with lenders more than once, that we know their flow on how things go. But if you have a lender, we just do our due diligence just to make sure that all of our ducks in a row when it's time to submit an offer, going under contract, and actually closing.
Yeah, because it's very important, because we're a team. So not only are we a team with Synergy Properties Group, but whoever we're working with, we become a team. So the lender is part of our team. We want to make sure whatever lender that you're working with are giving you the best customer service, be able to provide you all the resources as far as like all your options, because you'll have some lenders that will only give a client one option, because the client doesn't even know to ask for multiple options. So we want to make sure that you're protected on all fronts, because I've definitely talked to lenders of people who already come pre-approved, and I'm like, they are not gonna help you. They're gonna mess the transaction up. Would you be willing to speak to one of my lenders? Because I can already see it. Like, you have some lenders, first thing I ask is about down payment assistance. And I've had one lender like hang up on me, like, I work with $1 million clients. I'm not worried about this down payment assistance. And I'm like, okay, but my client needs down payment assistance. He needs to know what his options are. So we just make sure we do the due diligence with anyone that that you come already approved with.
Okay. When it comes to down payments, is there a certain number, if it's a first time home buyer and they can't get any down payment assistance, is there a certain percentage that you would tell them, hey, make sure you try to save X amount percentage towards whatever the number for the house you want to purchase? Because I know when I did my down payment, I didn't have to pay my whole down payment in full. My home was being built, so it was a year. I was able to make my payments over the year. Right. Until it was time for my payment. And I don't think a lot of people know that. I was so surprised that I didn't have to pay it all at once. And because it was a new construction, that I was able to give them like monthly payments. And when I tell people that, they're very shocked. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I didn't have to come up with that money all at one time.
All buildings are not created the same. So
okay.
And then during COVID, because of, it was so much of a demand for new construction, all of the money was due at contract.
Yeah.
So all buildings are definitely differently when it comes to new construction as far as like paying. Okay. But what I usually tell people is at least to have 5% saved, which is typically about 50. I don't know. I usually right now in this market, I would say at least have 15,000 saved.
Okay.
But it's really, I would just say save as possible, because I've had some people like a VA client who got all of their closing assistance paid by the seller. She's already coming in paying 0% in down payment, so she actually got money back. So it's really hard to determine in this market how much you need. It was actually easier in 2020, 2021, 2022, because we knew you weren't getting closing assistance, right? So we already knew you needed that money. It was hard to get down payment assistance. So back then I was saying at least 6 to 7%. So I definitely say it would definitely vary, but at the very least have 10 to 15,000 and realize that money can come from different avenues. Like you can get gift funds, you can take from your 401k as well.
Yeah. And I think people have to understand the difference between the two. So it's something called down payment assistance, and then it's closing costs. So it's two different things, and so down payment, with conventional, it depends on what type of loan you have. If it's conventional, it's 3% down. If it's FHA, 3.5. If it's a VA loan, then you don't have to put any down. If it's a USDA, you don't have to put any down. But then when Kia's adding in like the additional like 2%, 3% to get that 5-6%, that's when you're including like your closing costs and things like that. That's like the lender fees, title fees, things of that nature, that not only are you talking about down payment, but now you have the then the closing costs that you have to worry about as well. So although someone may get down payment assistance, yeah, you'll get your down payment covered, but you still have your closing costs that you have to focus on. So sometimes you do have those programs where they will cover both the down payment and the closing costs as well. You just have to be mindful that interest rates are a little higher, and things of that nature. But yeah, like Kia said, it just depends. To be honest with you, interest rates play a major factor in all of the cards. What type of loan you're applying. Oh, can you hear me? Okay. So interest rates. Can we hear you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, it's just Rukaiyah had a little static when she took her earbuds out.
Okay, no problem. So no, just the interest rates all predict, not the interest rates, I'm sorry, your credit score determines what your interest rate is based on what type of loan you qualify for. So the conventional loan, the FHA loan, VA loan, USDA, those are the main 4 type of loans that someone can be approved for. Then based off of that, that's what the closing cost with the down payment, whatever you have to put down as a down payment, will focus on as far as whichever loan you approve for.
That's good to know. So it doesn't matter. Well, when a client comes to you, do you tell them, hey, you better off going with a VA loan, not a VA, but that's for veterans, but either a conventional loan or FHA loan, or is it something you let them decide to do?
The lender actually decides what's best.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Based on when they run their information. However, what people don't see on the back end is that once we send you over to a lender, like I'm working with a lender right now where I have 3 clients where I got the pre-approval, but we're working out on the back end. Okay, what's the best case scenario in this factor? Could they be approved for this? What's the best case, worst case scenario? So we're doing a lot of things on the back end that a lot of people don't actually see. So I had a client that was a pre-qualified for or pre-approved for FHA, but I know that he wants a condo in Prince George's County. And I know Prince George's County, unfortunately, doesn't have a lot of FHA approved condos. So he needs to be approved for a conventional loan. He was able to get approved for that conventional loan. So it's a lot of back end stuff that we're doing. But at the end of the day, the lender is the one who makes that decision based on a debt to income ratio and then also based on what their actual credit score is.
Yeah, I think that's
what our lenders do that we love is they provide them all the options. So you're not just given one option. You'll see what it looks like if you do FHA versus conventional. So you versus down payment versus non-down payment. So you can make the best decision for you.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good to be informed because have those options so you would know, because it does help you be a lot more informed. Right. What has been probably some of throughout your process with your clients, have you seen like maybe one of the biggest reasons maybe why someone doesn't get approved for a certain loan? Is it that they're not being upfront in terms of like financial documents? Like what would be some of those things that would stop a person from getting approved for a loan?
Credit.
I'll say the one time that I had an actual credit denial was they were under contract. They did not pay a bill, and that bill was sent to collections, dropped their credit by 80 points, so they went from approved to not approved. So pretty much not following the 10 commandments of what you're supposed to do or not do once you go under contract. And one of the biggest things is change anything credit wise. Yeah. So those are the biggest reasons why people will not be denied. I mean, will be denied.
And then like changing jobs, things like that, in the middle, like once you get pre-approved, don't do anything different. Stay the exact same, whether it is boring or not. Just stay the exact same until you actually close, because that's super important from the time you get that pre-approval letter all the way till we actually go to closing. So credit is an important thing where we see that sometimes, it could be a deterring factor in someone actually getting qualified. Then also changing jobs in the middle of a contract. Sometimes you do not want to do that for sure, or unless you talk to the lender, have that conversation first to see if it's the right opportunity for you to be able to do. And then also debt to income ratio. We might have someone that has a 700 credit score because they're paying their mortgage or they're paying their bills on time, but a lot of their income is used towards paying off a lot of expenses, which means your debt to income ratio is high. So that just, that limits you from being able to either qualify for down payment assistance programs, qualify at all for any type of loan, or even being able to get qualified for a higher amount because your debt to income ratio is so high.
And I think a lot of people don't understand that debt to income ratio piece of it. You know what I mean? When they're going through the home buying process, they don't know that, hey, if you have more debt than your income, it doesn't look like you can afford anything else. Although you probably feel like I'm managing it well, but still to a lender, they're kind of like, no, you don't look like you can take on any other, especially a large purchase like this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's
we hear that all the time. People are like, "Well, I make over 6 figures. I pay this in my rent, and you probably paying too much in rent." And the landlord's not going to say no if you're paying your rent every month, and there's no issues. They're not going to say anything. But they have to make sure that the banks have to protect themselves as far as making sure that they're not approving any risky loans.
When you're dealing with a client, is it hard for them to stay within those 10 commandments? Because like you said, once you're in that pre-approval stage and then all of a sudden they want to purchase something, because I knew for me when we wanted to purchase the house, I was like, okay, I can't go purchase a car. I have to make a choice.
Right.
Either I'm going to get the house or I'm going to get the car. I can't get the car and then I'm going to get the house too. So is it hard for people to stay within that plan to purchase basically?
I wouldn't say for the most part, no, it's not hard. Like, you don't see it as often as you may think as far as what people are doing. I think a lot of people are to know, like, I'm buying a house. I'm not about to go buy a car. I'm not going to go, charge up my credit card. But I think for the most part, people are doing what they need to do because they know they want to buy that home.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think it's more so too once they get the pre-approval, that's when people get excited. So they're not going to do anything. Once they're like, all right, I feel like a relief off my shoulder. I send all my documents, to the lender. I feel like that, I feel like a new person. I think it's more so before they get the pre-approval and before they have the conversation with the lender, that in between time of us talking to them and then actually talking to the lender, them creating the plan. If they're saying like 6 months, you have some that's like, all right, I'm gonna follow the plan. I'm gonna be buying home. I was the same way. I was rejected the first time. A year later, I was approved. But for some people, they just, we have to be on them like mamas. Like I call them, like, what you doing? I see you on Instagram. Why you out of town? I see these Gucci bags. What are you doing? Type thing.
I've had clients where their car broke down during their transaction. I said Uber works, Metro works.
Oh my God.
It out. We had closing usually takes place between 30 to 45 days. Some of our lenders can close in under 3 weeks, right? You can have a temporary sacrifice for something bigger.
That's true. That's true. Because I know when I was going through the process, I didn't do anything. I really didn't. Because I was like, listen, we got to make this work because we got to head on to glory. That's victory over there. And I think that is a conversation when you talk about how important is it to have something and create that generational wealth. And is that something that you guys try to explain to your first time buyers? Like, hey, you're not just buying a home, you're buying something that you'll be able to give down to your children and that will be able to make more money for you. Is that something that you tell your first time home buyers?
Yeah, absolutely. And I always but for some people, it may be something different than just building the generational wealth. I had one mom where, she was ready to sell her house because she needs to pay off her debt so that she can be more of a provider for her daughter. So she looked at it as something different versus, I'm just going to keep this house, and pass it down. She was looking at the bigger picture of, I need to take care of this first so that I can be mentally prepared in the future as far as, paying for my daughter's college and things of that nature. Like she was looking at something totally different than I'm going to keep this house forever. That wasn't her ultimate goal. Her ultimate goal was like, I have a whole bunch of debt. I refuse to do bankruptcy. I have all this equity in my house. I'm going to go ahead and use this equity, pay down my stuff. And then she ended up buying a new construction with Kia. So she, it's just certain things that people look for when they purchase their home. So I always look at what is the person's why. I don't have kids. So generational wealth for me is like, I don't have kids, so it's different for me. It's more so building a community impact, leading by example, which is important to me. If I'm gonna tell somebody else to purchase a house, I should have purchased a house myself. If I tell somebody else to invest in real estate, I need to be an investor. If I tell somebody else to be a landlord, I need to be a landlord. So those are the things that push me to my next goals more than just creating generational wealth, because generational wealth is used loosely sometimes, I think, in our community, because we hear it all the time, but that might not be the person's main why. And I don't think that we have to be stuck in saying generational wealth all the time, because sometimes it's not necessary for some people in some situations.
That's good to know. Definitely. So how important is for people to understand the home buying process? Like, how important is for people to understand it? How important is education? Like, what would you tell someone when they're looking for a realtor? What would be some of the key things to look for that you know that this person is going to help you not only educate you on the process, but help you get to the end goal?
I think so. For a lot of our clients, I know me specifically, a lot of people get so excited, they get their pre-approval, they want to go shopping right away. No. I always say we're going to slow this process down to speed it up, because once you're under contract, everything's going to be moving a mile a minute. We want to educate you at the initial consultation. Educate you. We have a full buyer's consultation where we go over not only we go over your wants and needs in the home, we go through the whole process. We give you a buyer's guide. So you're able to, not only do we go over it in person, on Zoom, we go over it in our buyer's guide that we present to all of our buyers. And we're available for any questions. Like I always tell my clients, I am your Google. Do not go on Google about real estate, because I am that person. I am your resource. And making sure we're identifying if someone has a question, or someone may feel like they're too scared to ask the question. I always say no question is a dumb question. We do this all day, every day. When I have a question for our CPA, I got a question for the CPA. I don't care if it's a dumb question. I don't care if I ask it a million times. I don't do that all day, every day. So just making sure that we're educating people as much as possible. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like you see people on Instagram and everybody wanted to become a realtor. It seemed like the thing to do. But like Samantha said, we are a student of this game. So we are in trainings. We're always looking to find better ways to hone in on our skills and make our skills better, because this market is constantly changing. Who I was as an agent 7 years ago is not who I could be as an agent in 2023. So recognizing who your agent is, as far as like what education do they have, what certificates do they have, we want to make sure that we're helping our clients as much as possible, and making sure we're educated as well, so we can we can educate them.
Yeah, and I think, Sue, and then the initial conversation, it just definitely needs to be where the agent is asking as many questions that, as possible, to understand what your big why is and the reason that you're doing it. So when we're going through the process, and it can be strenuous and it can be tiring and you're, frustrated, we can always go back to your why. If we're not asking questions and enough questions to understand your main reason, then that may not be the right agent for you. It might be just an agent that's like, where are you trying to live? Okay, what part? Okay, how many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? But they're not giving those probing questions. They're not digging deep into what your main why is. Then that might not be just the right person for you, because at the end of the day, we create a family community over here. Like it's we have a community of people where, we do a lot of events, as far as community based, where all of our previous clients, current clients, future clients come together, and we're all just like a big family reunion. So, for us, it's definitely just understanding, what your main why is in the very, very beginning, and definitely just keeping up with that. And whatever your real estate goal is, it becomes our real estate goal.
That's
awesome. And Samantha and I are very transparent with our clients. We're going to hold your hand through the process, but we're not going to lie to you. Like, if we're going to be very real with you about what your approval is, what you need, what strategies we need to use in order to get you in a home. We're not going to lie to you. We're not going to sugarcoat it. We're going to be as real as possible, because we understand this is a big process for you, and we want to make sure that you fully understand what you're getting yourself into.
That's really awesome. This has been a really good conversation. I mean, I feel like people are going to get so much from this. So one, tell everyone, I guess, how they can get in contact with you guys, because obviously if you're in the Maryland, if you're in Washington, Virginia, you are the ladies that we want to see, because now I make sure I go to you guys too when my time comes, and I'm going to make sure I refer everyone I know who's looking to make sure they hit you guys up.
Awesome. So we're licensed in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. However, we do have referral partners throughout the country. So if you're looking in any other state, we have trusted referral partners that we can refer you to for sure. So don't think that just because you're not in the area that you don't have the same support in your specific area. You can find us on Instagram at Synergy, SYNERGY, Properties Group on Instagram, same handle on Facebook as well. And then if you need to call us, 240-737-2867 is our office. And then our main email address for the team is admin, ADMIN, at synergy-pg.com. And our website is synergy-pg.com.
Definitely. And I'll make sure I put all this information in our show notes and in our notes on YouTube. But what advice would you guys give to someone who's want to get into the real estate game right now? What would you tell them their steps should be in order to be a part of this business?
Trust the process. Take your time. It's not all bells and whistles. It's not all flowers like they show on Instagram and Facebook or social media overall. This is for the ones that have tough skin, the ones who are willing to do the hustle and grind. The regular 9 to 5, people, they go do the 9 to 5, they come home, they don't think about it. We sleep, we eat, we all of this is regarding real estate, go on vacations, dealing with real estate. So this is just a mindset that you just definitely have to be ready to execute whenever your time is ready.
And I would definitely say start with your why. So, I didn't get into this business. Like, I was a probation officer for 12 years. I love helping people. So definitely figure out what your why is and what your motivation is, because that why is going to be what has to wake you up and get you out of bed, because you're not going to have somewhere to clock in and clock out of. So that why is going to keep you moving when it's 7 o'clock and you're tired and it's dark outside. So really start with what your why is. And if your why is definitely to make an impact, on this business, then definitely is the way to go. But it's definitely not everything you see on social media. Like, it's stressful. It's months you may or may not get paid. It costs thousands to get started. So it has to be something that you really want to do, and more than I want to do this because I see the sunset and that looks like a fun thing to do. We're making a big impact on people's lives, and our jobs are very, very important. And
let me tell you. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Rukaiyah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and we have to treat it as such. And some people do and some people don't.
I'm gonna tell you this. You guys are right. Social media make being a realtor look like it is such a cool job. Like, it's a cool job. I mean, you make a lot of money from it. I mean, the way they present it, even on like some of the shows, because I love all my little shows on TV too. I'm not gonna lie, the ones that are all about selling real estate and stuff like that. So it does look like it's a cool profession. But I'm glad you let them know. Listen, this is hard work. You're gonna really have to grind. You got to educate yourself in it. You know what I mean? And you got to, like you said, you got to know your why. Now, in closing, is there anything in the industry that you guys would like to see change that can help African American women thrive better in that industry? Is there anything you'd like to see changed?
I think they just came out with a report. It's only 4% of realtors are African American. I don't know what number that is for African American women, but definitely want to see more people thriving in real estate of people of color, because we have seen discrimination, and in order to reduce the discrimination, I think we have to show up in more places, and not just as realtors. I think it's very important to have more Black appraisers, because that affects our community and the home prices in our community. So I think that's the direction I definitely want to see the industry go in, as far as getting more Black appraisers in real estate. Yeah.
And I think for me, just having more representation of us. You know, and I think that's why Kia and I are definitely trying to just spread the word about, you know, building in real estate, and just being that face of, you know, real estate, where we are examples of what is possible. We're nowhere near where we want to be for sure, but just getting out there that, you know, it's possible, you know, to be in this real estate game, still be successful, but understanding also still being humble, but being a student. So at the end of the day, just representation for me is super important. Yeah, and that's it. I love representation.
Listen, you know, when you're doing with technology, it comes all these type of bloopers. You know what I mean? So it's all good. It happens. It's a part of technology. But I want to thank you guys so much for coming on the show. This has been such a great conversation. I know it's going to help a lot of people. I know it's going to educate a lot of people to help make better informed decisions when it comes to purchasing their home or even reselling. You know what I mean? So I'm excited. I can't wait to get my process started. So make sure you guys look out for a call from me. And just to get the conversation started, I'm gonna get my consultation book just to get the conversation started about, you know, purchasing a new home, you know, maybe keeping this one, purchasing a new one. So we're going to do all that. But guys, this is the Girl Take No podcast. I am Shawnee Sanders, and thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. I will see you guys next time.